Hey, friends, welcome back to the Called to Lead podcast. I'm super excited about this week's episode because I'm going to be answering your questions about Restore Collective. So, if you're listening, you've likely been following along on our journey, maybe in our focus group, which is just the group of people who are really excited about trying and buying and enrolling as a partner or advocate with Restore that are hopefully connected with one of our 10 founding partner mentors, which you have all had a chance to meet through the podcast episodes. We just wrapped up the last one last week with Miss Sophie. And so hopefully you are already plugged into one of those 10 founding partner mentors focus groups. But from that, I have seen several questions come up time and time again, or even in just conversations with some of my friends, my family, or as we've become more public on social media. You can follow us at restorecollective.co over on Instagram and Facebook. And so we've seen some questions come through, and I want to be able to tackle them specifically and directly with this episode as we gear up for our soft launch and our public launch to follow. So let's dive into this week's episode. All right, let's dive into what will hopefully be a shorter than normal episode. I mean, I feel like I say that all the time, and whether or not I can actually make a 15 to 20 minute episode happen, we shall see. But I'm going to dive right in. And I just want to start by saying, first of all, I'm so grateful for each and every one of you that is listening, each and every one of you that is a part of our focus group, because every single time I have a conversation, whether it's at one of our Restore road trips, which make sure you're connected with a founding partner mentor if you want the scoop on those, or if it's just a question or a conversation or a story that's being passed along through one of our founding partner mentors, my heart is just so inspired. And truly, your feedback, your questions, they have been a part of what has made this what it is. And so this is not just me and Roger up here just creating and making all these decisions. Truly, your feedback and your experiences and your questions have really helped us to develop this along the way. So I'm really excited to tackle what might be even some tough questions, but I want to just in transparency be able to respond to them just in case you're secretly thinking them too. So the first one I'm going to dive into is a super bold question, and that is, what does it mean when we say that Jesus is our CEO? So you probably know by now, if you're a listener of this podcast, that we are a faith-forward company, which what that means to me is I am a believer first and foremost. And while I do not expect you as a listener or anyone who buys or enrolls as a customer to feel or believe the same things that I do, I cannot separate who I am as a believer in Christ from the person that I feel he's called me to be, which is the chief visionary officer of this company, Restore Collective. And so what that means to Roger and I is that when we say Jesus is our CEO, meaning Chief Executive Officer, we truly believe like this was an inspiration from him that we are just executing. So I've kind of said this before on a previous podcast, but I'll say it again, that the best way I know how to describe it is he has hired us to implement this vision. So one of the questions when someone asked me this directly, and it came from a dear friend, and so I loved that she was bold enough to ask it, and I love that you're bold enough to ask it if you're thinking it. And she is a believer as well, but she, one of the things that she kind of had in mind was, well, okay, if Jesus is perfect and Restore is not going to be perfect, meaning we will make mistakes, there will be problems, there will be delays, there will be things that we can't even see. So how can we attach someone who is perfect and has all these great ideas along with something that we know will be beautiful, but we also know we'll have some things that we're going to have to work through, right, in startup mode. And so how do we reconcile what that looks like? And my answer to her, it was so settled when I realized, like, okay, so Jesus is perfect, but just like, well, first of all, there's no other CEO of any company that is perfect. But if there are problems that arise in a company, like for example, Savannah Bananas, I don't know if you guys are a fan, but they're based here. My 15-year-old daughter actually works with them. But somebody on the Savannah Bananas team screwed up big time last month when they wound up sending out an email to all of the people on their waiting list for tickets saying that they had been given the option to purchase tickets, which if you don't know, they sell out immediately. It's like a super coveted thing. They're not that expensive, but what happened in sending the right message to the wrong group of people, which is essentially just a marketing error that was made internally, right? So, was that the CEO's fault that this one person made a mistake that went out to a ton of people? No, but you know what that CEO did? He made it right by the customers and directed, I'm sure in grace, the solution, which was to give everyone who technically wasn't supposed to receive that email free tickets to not one of the Savannah games, but one of the games somewhere else. And so, was that a perfect solution? Obviously, you'd love to kind of go back and not make the mistake, right? But was it something that was working all of it together for good, which is what our Lord does? And I'm not trying to compare the CEO of Savannah Bananas to Jesus, certainly. But what I'm trying to say is, number one, it wasn't his fault. There are going to be broken people, there are going to be mistakes, and there needs to be grace for those mistakes. And every one of those mistakes or errors or issues is an opportunity to pivot and show up and serve. And that's exactly what the Savannah Bananas did to the best of their abilities. And we'll see what the result of the issues will look like on their company moving forward. But for us, we acknowledge that, first of all, Roger and I are not going to get everything right. The partners and advocates that we're enrolling with, we're not always going to get this right. But you know who can take all of our broken mistakes, all of our struggles, all of the issues, and work them together for our good and his glory? That is Jesus. And so I hope that answers that question, that we are looking to him for direction, for wisdom, for guidance, all found in his word. We feel that he has called us to this journey. And while we know we aren't going to always get it right, we know that he can, in leading us and guiding us, make it better. And so that is why we consider Jesus as our CEO. So kind of coupled with this next story is tied around, the ideas of us being faith forward, what that looks like. Does it mean that you have to be a believer to buy, enroll, or join as a partner? And what does that tangibly look like? Well, first of all, we hope that in exemplifying our wisdom and guidance directly from Christ through his word in the Bible, that we don't even necessarily have to say that for people to see the light that is in us that is from him and to see the things that are different. And so we want that to be what is the most public facing. It's just there's something a little bit different about what's happening here at Restore. And then, of course, I think from that, people will start to kind of dig a little deeper. And that's where they will find in our mission, our vision, and values, as we've been discussing on this podcast, that we are a Christ-centered, faith-forward company. But that doesn't mean that we don't welcome anyone to try and buy our products, or it doesn't mean that you have to believe the same things that we do in order to even build a business with Restore. So as we're developing our systems for the field, and when it comes to things like onboarding or even just ongoing sharing, one of the things that we want to really kind of focus on is just sharing your experience and inviting others on the journey about what makes you most excited. So for you, if that is because we are a faith forward company and you want to share that as what makes you excited, that's awesome. You have the freedom to go and do that. If that's not necessarily what makes you the most excited, just like you might not like one of our products, right? Like you might not like the mascara or the lip shine, or you might already have a sunscreen that you love. Just like we wouldn't expect you to go inauthentically share something that's a product that isn't something you use and love, you don't have to outwardly share and focus on those aspects of the company if that's not something that aligns with your heart and vision. Instead, if you are buying and enrolling and sharing as a partner or advocate just because you love the product, focus on that. And just like you would eat Chick-fil-A, or shop at Hobby Lobby, or there's a million companies out there that are faith forward believers, that if you dig deep enough, you're going to see that. And if you are going through the driveway, you're going to drive through, you're going to feel it from them. And you're going to sense that something's different. You might dig a little deeper, but that doesn't mean that you're not going to tell your friends to go try the pepper pimento chicken sandwich or whatever it's called if you think it's amazing. So this company is hopefully for anyone who just loves what it is that we're doing here, whether it is the products, whether it is our mission, vision, and values. We want you to share in that excitement, but we certainly don't want to and never would tell you what you should and shouldn't believe. But that doesn't mean that we will shy away from what we believe, especially when it comes to the best business principles being found in his word. So I hope that answers your question around things being faith forward and what it might look like if your beliefs don't necessarily align with us. Okay, so the next question is maybe just as tricky, but it's one that I have probably too many answers for, and that's what makes this different. So, if you've started to see some of our content out on social media and you're starting to see some of the official pictures of the packaging, you might see, like, hey, this might look similar to other things that are on the market. So, to answer this question, that I'm going to bring in some alliteration because y'all know I love me some alliteration, and that is our 5 S's. And so this not only applies actually to our products, but it also does apply to our comp plan, which we can talk about a little bit in a future episode, but we'll specifically talk about what makes the product different in this episode. And so the first S is safe. So one of the things that really is a little bit different than companies, for example, who are super focused on being really clean or who are kind of on the opposite side where maybe they source, for example, their eyeshadows in China. For us, our benchmark that we wanted to set from the beginning, because we do believe that safety is the number one thing that should be prevalent in a beauty product. So, not just for yourself, but especially if you're going to be sharing this with your teenagers and your kids and for the long run, then we want it to be safe. And so, our standard is that everything is made here in the United States. And yes, we do source clean products for that. We're not trying to use that as a marketing shtick. That is not our heart to lead with that. But that's not because they aren't clean. It's because they are made here in the US. But the reason we know they're clean is because they exceed the EU standards, which are very strict and ever changing. And so one of the things as the United States kind of starts to clean up a lot of the products and ingredients and the regulations may even start to change here in the US, we're looking to the EU as our standard for which ingredients are going to be most effective, especially in the beauty space, which is really hard to do in what someone might consider clean or natural. And so what we're doing is we're looking, first of all, to our formulators who are experts in this space. Second of all, we're looking to you as our focus group. And when you spot something in transparency, because we will, of course, have all of our ingredients transparently put on the website, we actually have even started to share some of the ingredients upon request with people that's really important to in our focus group. So get with your founding partner mentor if ingredients are something that you're just it's a deal breaker for you. It's one of those things. It's honestly not. It has not been a deal breaker for me, but in realizing that it might be a deal breaker for you, that has made me get really curious and listen to the feedback. And for example, we have cleaned up several of our products that did exceed those EU standards, but because of the feedback from you guys, the focus group, we did actually make changes to the formulations in time for soft launch. So one of the things around this that I do want to keep in mind is our formulations at this point are set for soft launch, but that doesn't mean that they're set forever. And if we need to clean something up, to meet or exceed maybe the changing standards or to meet and exceed the expectations of you, our field, we can and we will. So we want your feedback, but we also acknowledge that we're not going to be able to prevent every single allergy to even some natural ingredients. We're not going to be able to have everything be completely natural ingredients because sometimes there's just better options that have been engineered to give us that specific result, and we want it to have a good end result as well. And so from a clean perspective, from a safety perspective, that is kind of our standard. Next up is simple. So we looked at everything on the market, the concepts that really are standard. For example, foundation, concealer, bronzer, contour, blush, lips, and we thought, how can we simplify this? How can we make this intuitive for the end user? And what is it that people are wanting right now? And what we found is that our customers were wanting something that really doesn't look like makeup. They want the coverage in the areas where they want it, but they don't want a heavy look and they want it to be simple to apply. And so we developed the skin tint, which is meant to just kind of look like your skin, but just kind of smooth it out a little bit. The bright balance to really go in and correct only the areas that you need, like your under eyes, for example, or redness or rosacea. We combined the contour bronzer into one product called Lift Bronze. We combined the cheek lip product into a super blendable, customizable, you can mix and match the shades. We're starting with 8 shades, but if you combine them in 2s or 3s, it's 84 shades to where you can create your own custom shade. Then our eye glows, same thing. We've got a system that is very simple that we teach from our glow capsule that includes 3 custom tailored eye shades to your season, which we'll talk about. And then last, a brow liner, which again is a multi-purpose product. So we just looked out and what was working in the market. We thought, how can we make this even more simple? How can we drill it down to what our customers are intuitively looking for? And how can we make it even more simple? So simple is the next. Smart. This might be one of my favorite things, especially because I have found out that I'm a packaging geek. So we have worked really hard, and this is absolutely one of the reasons why things have taken as long as they have in development, is we have built our own custom palette, which we call the Glow Capsule, which is smart in several ways. One, because it does a step-by-step, really simple makeup system that is super teachable, which is great for someone like, again, your teenage daughter who's learning to do her makeup, or for our partners who maybe don't have makeup experience and need to better understand how to do it. Like you might be scared sitting there going, but I'm not a makeup artist. I don't know how to do makeup. Can I sell makeup? With this system, my friend, absolutely you can, because we're going to equip you with the step-by-step systems for how to do it yourself so that you can then show other people how to do it. We also have a little kind of a dust cover that covers everything so it stays nice and clean and organized. And there's many other features, including on our bottles, where they kind of twist up. You don't have to keep up with the caps. And essentially, there's so many different smart elements. So you'll see when you see the products that we kind of thought of the little details, and that's what makes our products smart. The next one is sustainable. And so sustainable, one of the ways that we are going to be doing this is with refills. So instead of having to throw away your palette, this palette is meant to last you. You can always get an extra one and take out what we call the training wheels, which is the inner divider, and use it to store your extras. We also have what's called the Go capsule, which is a way to kind of store your smaller ones. But the idea is everything from our makeup to eventually our skincare, we will have refills to where you don't have to throw away the beautiful, expensive packaging, which I can tell you from experience is usually the thing that costs the most in the development of it is the packaging. And so you don't have to throw it away, which is much more sustainable for the environment, but it's also going to be sustainable for the long run, meaning you're going to want to use these systems and these colors because they are designed to be the everyday essentials that you're going to want to wear every day. And that, my friends, is where sustainability comes into what makes us different. And you're going to see, you'll see that when you start to see some of the products. So then lastly, seasonality. So this is super cool in that our Glow Capsule is designed and tailored, and we have a color science quiz that will point potential customers to a palette that is designed not so much for their color season like autumn, spring. We won't be typing people per their season, so don't worry, you do not have to do that. We will leave that up to the professionals, online or in person, but the Glow Capsule is tailored towards the cool, warm, and neutral seasons. So if you've recently had your color season analysis done, or you know you're cool toned and you want those colors that are going to make you feel the most beautiful, that is what our custom palettes are designed and curated to be. So we like to say, think of the makeup as a capsule wardrobe for your face. But also keep in mind that our skincare edit is the same. We're going to call it skincare edit, makeup edit. Down the road, when we expand, we can even have like an active edit or a body edit. There's going to be so much opportunity for expansion by taking the simple systems that our everyday active families use and making them even more simple, smart, sustainable, safe, and seasonal, and just making it to where it's like, again, a boiled down, simple version of the products that you want to use and are probably already using. You just want an updated version of them all in one collection, if you will, which also makes this easy to share. All of our comp plan systems are built around those collections and the price points. And so the volume that can come from that is based in the value that our customers are going to get from having it all in one, a one and done system when it comes to your makeup and your skincare. So lastly, we're going to talk a little bit of timeline and money. So another question is like, well, it's funny. I've heard both. What's taking so long? Why don't we have a date yet? Or, wow, you've been able to do this so fast. How is that even possible? And so the answer to those two questions is, one, the reason that we've been able to do this so quickly is truly, again, because of that direct inspiration and the people that have been put on our path, specifically our formulators, our partners, our packaging vendors, that have allowed us to kind of condense the typical timeline for doing this, which is usually a year or more. And so if you're feeling like this has gone fast, you're right, it has. But if you're feeling like I am a little impatient, and honestly, I think a lot of us are feeling that way to like, let's launch tomorrow, just know that these things do take time. And we are on the Lord's timing first. And second of all, we're on the timeline of our vendors. And basically, everything is at the speed of the slowest moving piece to the puzzle. And so we're not ready to announce dates yet, but just know that they are coming. Get with your founding partner mentor if you want to stay in the loop on the latest scoop when it comes to dates. Then the money part to this is how much is it going to cost to enroll? Can I buy it before I enroll? So we are going to be doing a soft launch first to our focus group, where if you want to do this thing, but you want to try the product first, that's where you'll have the opportunity to do it. But you have to be plugged into one of those focus groups. And as I'm saying this publicly, I know we always say like, hey, what can I share publicly? It's anything that is shared publicly. If you do share this, please don't do it from a place of scarcity. Don't go on your stories and say, hey, you better get in the focus group before this because you're not, you got to be able to try it and buy it and enroll first. That's not what we're saying. The soft launch is meant to be a gift to those of you, which if you're listening to this, and I am over my 15 minutes here, but if you're listening to this, that's you, that we want to be able to gift you with the opportunity, if you're connected with one of our founding partner mentors, to be able to try it and buy it or even enroll first during soft launch. And then the cost to enroll, you guys are going to love this. So first of all, our advocate program is free to enroll. So being a customer, you just buy the price of the product, which it will be similar to the pricing that you'll see for any products that might be in Sephora or Ulta. We'll just say that you can buy, for example, the starter kits for less than, when I say kits, this is as a customer, for less than $200, some even less than that, depending on which edit you're going for. And so they're meant to be affordable, simple solutions for you as a customer. If you want to do a business as an advocate, you can enroll for free for 3 months and try this thing. You just can't build a team. So the advocate program is meant to be more affiliate focused. So you can enroll as an affiliate, give this thing a try, buy your products. You just can't invite somebody to join you on the journey initially as an advocate. But then the partner program, it is going to be $50 for a quarter or $150 for the year to be able to enroll, which you're going to get our digital business kit, which comes with a ton of systems to serve you and your customers. And we'll explain more about that in a future kind of comp plan focused episode. But know that that's the only investment that you have to make, because right now we won't launch with product kits. That will come hopefully at our Welcome Home launch event in July. But for right now, all you have to do is just invest in your business by becoming a partner, receive access to those digital business kit tools. Then any further investments, it'll just be buying the product, and then you'll get that commission back on the back end as a partner. So hopefully that answers your question. If you're saving up your money, first of all, good for you. Second of all, if you are, just know that those are your options. Free as an advocate, $50 or $150 if you want to get the best value to pay ahead. And then whatever products that you want to invest in. And again, plan on somewhere under $200. If all the things bundle, which is like the skincare, the makeup, it's under $500, but more than $400. We'll leave it. We'll leave it somewhere in there. So if you're like, I want everything, that's going to be your best bet, and it'll be somewhere in that zone, in that range. But we wanted this to be a way that you can start affordably and in a way that suits wherever you are in your business. So I'm going to pray and wrap this up. And I know there's more questions, but send them over to your founding partner mentor if you have more. Lord, thank you so much for this opportunity and just the blessing of being able to live out the vision that you've put on our hearts through this journey. And we look to you for guidance, and we know we're not always going to get that right. So we ask for grace and mercy from you, and also from those that are partnering with us on this journey, to know that they are the ones that are going to be able to help make this thing better. And we are so grateful for their insight along the way, and for just meeting us where we are, meeting them where they are, with wherever they want to join here in the coming months. And so thank you for the blessing of this business, and for those that are on the journey with us, and be with us as we wrap up these final decisions before soft launch and our public launch. And just give the discernment and the wisdom to those listening to know what their next best step is, and just know that we are right here to support them with no pressure along the way. Thank you again for everything. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, guys, thanks so much. Y'all have an amazing week.